Hey everyone, it's your friendly neighborhood Maniacal Engineer. I just wanted to remind you all about the Speed Gamers' upcoming Pokémon Marathon for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, happening June 8th through 15th. While the marathon is still a little ways away, you can certainly donate to this cause. A link can be found in the description for donations, and rewards in the form of naming characters are available if you donate early enough. This is for an excellent cause, so please help out if you can, and definitely tune in during the actual marathon. Okay, enough of me blathering on. Now for your feature presentation. Hey there everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Bulbacast. As I mentioned in the first Bulbacast behind the scenes, this will be the very first Bulbacast movie night. But what does that mean? What is a Bulbacast movie night? Excellent questions. In a Bulbacast movie night episode, my fellow casters and I will be reviewing a movie that we all recently watched. And, I figured, what better way to start off this feature than with the very first Pokémon movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back. Of course, before we can get to the questions, I need to introduce this episode's panel. So let's get to it. This week we actually have a very small panel because there was no way I was going to be able to top last recording's panel when I had Archaic himself recording with us. So we've got my two colleagues from Entertainment Inc. with us today. That would be Dragon Nataku and Fluttershy of Light. Say hi!
Hi!
Hi.
Alright, and as always, I am your host, the mildly exhausted Maniacal Engineer. Don't ask why I'm mildly exhausted. And with that, let's get right to our first question. What languages did you watch the movie in? Deanne, we'll start with you.
Well, I watched it in English. I don't think the movie actually made it to theaters in my country, otherwise it would have been in Spanish. My parents actually bought me the VHS, yes, I'm that old, in English for me on one vacation to Miami. So, English.
Alright, Flutters, what about you?
I saw it in English. It was like a long time ago when I first saw it. It was around the time it came out.
Alright, and I saw it only in English myself, so not exactly a lot of diversity here. I think there actually is a Hebrew dubbing of it out there somewhere, and I probably will watch that someday just because I'm sure the voices will be funny, but I haven't done that yet. I am remiss. So yeah, like I said, not a lot of diversity to work with here, but we'll make this work. Question 2. Did you like or dislike this movie? Flutters, we'll start with you.
It was okay, honestly. There were some parts where it was kind of weak. Like the Mewtwo's whole plot at the beginning. He was like trying to cause the island, and then the pier just over or the ship being blocked because of the weather he caused. It's just a bit of a flaw.
All right, and I'm sure we can hear more about what you liked and disliked about the movie in particular at a later question, but let's move on. Deanne, did you like or dislike this movie?
Well, I loved this movie as a kid. I'm not sure how many times I watched it. I just remember watching it repeatedly. Of course, I rewatched it recently for this episode, and I still enjoyed it.
All right. As for me, I think it's okay. And I will go into further detail about my opinions on the movie in later questions. So let's move on to our next question, which is, what are some of your favorite parts of the movie? Deanne, we'll start with you.
Well, one of my favorite parts was when Mewtwo blew up that lab and the place Giovanni was keeping him in, because I like explosions.
Explosions are good.
Yes, yes they are. I also like the parts where Pikachu was being silly. Like, I don't think he really does anything like that in the show anymore. Granted, I don't really watch the show. But things like trying to eat the invitation card, I thought that was cute. I also like the ending, of course, where everyone is happy and going off to live somewhere peacefully.
Actually, the real ending is nobody actually remembers what happened in the movie, but that's beside the point.
Well, I'm ignoring that part.
Yeah. Flutters, what about you?
My favorite part is probably the morals part, or when Meowth is saying about the what was
I don't remember the exact line, but I know what you're getting at. It was when Meowth said, yes, we have some differences, but we have a lot in common too. Like, we both live under the same sky and so forth.
yeah, that part. And then there's the one with Mewtwo, that it doesn't matter what your origin is, it's what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are.
Very true. This was very, very deep for a movie aimed at children.
Yeah, it was deeper than some of the others I've seen.
Yeah, sure. Makes sense. As for me, some of my favorite parts of this movie was really just Mew trolling around and messing with Team Rocket. It's always good for a laugh. And I do still love the battle between Mew and Mewtwo. That's just as epic as I remember it being, even though, now I know, at least based on base stats and things like that, if the battle had continued, Mewtwo would have triumphed. It's still a lot of fun to watch, and the other thing that I really, really love about this movie were the tie-ins to the anime. You actually got to see some of the anime in this movie, and you got to see some of this movie in the anime, which we'll get to it in a later question, but I don't think that it's happened to this extent in any future Pokemon movie. I was going to say movie, but... So yeah, that's one thing that I really do love about this, and I think it really does make this movie unique. Alright, let's flip this question on the head and have a little more fun. What were some of your least favorite parts of the movie? Flutters, I think you already started to answer this question, so we'll start with you.
Yeah, it was during the beginning part where Mewtwo says, or tries to get people to go to his island, but the people were like, or the Nurse Joy, or not Nurse Joy,
Officer Jenny.
Officer Jenny, they were like preventing the people from going, and it just feels like a rather big flaw because he didn't really think it over, or Mewtwo didn't.
Well, the idea of the storm, at the very least...
it does make sense.
It does, but it doesn't. I mean, Mewtwo was trying to use the storm as a way of weeding out all of the weak Pokemon trainers, but theoretically he should have already done that when he was looking for people whose Pokemon to clone. But we'll get to that when I talk about some of my least favorite things about this movie. Deanne, it's your turn now.
This is going to be kind of a long answer. Okay, things that made no sense, like how the only Pokemon that didn't get cloned was Togepi, or the fact that the clone Meowth was the one that was talking sense into Team Rocket's Meowth, while the other clones were all hellbent on fighting. Also, Mew getting really into combat when before all it really wanted to do was play, and now suddenly he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna try and beat you up, Mewtwo.
To be fair, Mewtwo did kind of smack Mew around just a wee bit before that happened.
Yeah, but he was like, dodging the attacks and then sending him back at him, and then suddenly he's like, oh, I'm gonna get serious, so I'm just gonna try and beat you up. Oh yeah, one more thing that really bugged me. Misty is the water type gym leader, and somehow she doesn't have any Pokemon to help her reach New Island? What the heck is up with that?
Yeah, I mean, and they had they had another trainer in there that was a water-themed trainer, too.
Yeah, and he had all these strong Pokemon. She just has Starmie. Or Staryu.
Staryu.
Yeah.
She didn't even have her Starmie.
And Nidoqueen.
I think my biggest problem with the movie, though, is how they try to shoehorn in this whole fighting is bad, but battling is totally fine, you guys. There's totally a difference between slapping each other and using flamethrower or thunderbolt on each other. Like somehow using actual moves is better than just smacking each other around. I don't know. My flamethrower.
You've actually preempted one of my answers, but that's perfectly fine.
I stole it. It's mine.
Actually, you've kind of preempted two of my answers, but you sort of touched on one and you directly said the other. So yeah, obviously, for me, one of the big letdowns or one of the big disappointments in this one was, It's like the whole message about Pokemon battling. Everything they said about fighting, everything they said about making Pokemon fight, and yet that's what Pokemon do literally every day. That's what trainers make their Pokemon do. And, I guess what they were technically going for was they mention at one point, this is a, quote, fight to the death. And that's supposed to be what line that they're drawing in this case. That's bad. But regular battles that cause Pokemon to faint or that cause serious injury to Pokemon, that's good. That's A-okay. That's perfectly fine.
Well, it makes less sense because in the Japanese games, it's not fainting. It's called near death. So it makes even less sense.
Well, I've never played the Japanese games, but, I mean, and you've seen people in the anime. You've seen people rushing to the Pokemon Center with their severely injured Pokemon after a battle. I think one of the big episodes you saw that in was Lieutenant Surge episode, the one where Pikachu beats Raichu.
Yeah.
You see all of these trainers running out of the gym and their Pokemon are seriously hurt. A-okay, perfectly fine. We have spectator sports based on this. That's perfectly fine, but somehow, this isn't. So that's, that whole aspect of the movie, looking back on it now, it doesn't make any sense. And then the other thing, that Dien kind of touched on was Misty, the water type gym leader, didn't have any Pokemon. She literally just had her Staryu, which showed up to, it showed up to have them partially ferry them across the water, but then it didn't show up. She didn't release it when they got to New Island. And then her Psyduck. Staryu and Psyduck, and of course Togepi, which was the one Pokemon that didn't get cloned. But, that's it. And all Brock had was Vulpix. That's it.
What happened to Geodude?
Or Onyx.
What happened to Geodude? What happened to Onyx? What happened to Zubat? We don't know. We really don't. And, the little bit of extra firepower would have been helpful when they were taking out, or when they were battling the clone Pokemon. You would have had a couple of extra Pokemon up your sleeve. And you can't say... Actually, I don't even think you can say they were there, because Mewtwo's psychic. He would have read their minds and found out that they had Pokeballs that they were hiding. But...
Except he didn't find Togepi, so...
Well, Togepi... Everybody knows Togepi is the Dark Lord of the Sith. So it's not impossible that he didn't see Togepi. But yeah, so those were two really big things that were not so good in my opinion. But it's mostly in retrospect though, which does kind of get into our next question, which is, have you seen this movie before the Bulbacast movie night? And if so, how does your opinion now stack up to your opinion of the movie from then? Flutter, we'll start with you on this.
The first time I saw it, it was actually good because I was just a little kid, but the one part that got me was when Ash sacrificed himself, when he kind of got in the way of the two Pokemon, or Mewtwo and Mew fighting.
Okay.
And also Mew is cute.
Yes.
Well, there are people who say that Mewtwo and Mew balance each other out nicely. You've got Mew, who's cute and appeals to people who like cute things, and you've got Mewtwo, who's cool and appeals to people who like cool things. But I don't think that's an inaccurate assessment. I'm much more of a Mewtwo fan myself. Dien, what about you?
Well, like I said, I owned the VHS as a kid. I hadn't seen it in a good 20 years, though. As a kid, I ignored pretty much all of those things that made no sense that I mentioned previously, except maybe the Togepi thing. As adults, we tend not to, suspend our disbelief as much, and then we watch things with a more critical eye, but I still enjoyed it, and not just because of nostalgia. Mew has always been one of my favorite Pokemon because of this movie, so it's good to go back and see the movie that made me love Mew again.
True. As for me, I I actually dragged my father out to see this on the big screen in the movie theater when I was a kid. I remember it was a very, very big deal to go see the very first Pokemon movie on, I think it was on opening weekend. In the movie theater, there was a special promotional card they were giving out. I believe I still have it somewhere in my shoebox, along with the rest of my cards. So I did. I don't think I've seen it for a good 15 to 20 years myself either. And definitely, like you said, Deanne, watching it as an adult versus watching it as a kid, there's a lot more suspension of disbelief that you have as a kid, that you don't as an adult. Among the things that I already mentioned that I disliked about the movie, and again, I know I'm overreacting to a children's movie, but it really seems to me that Mewtwo literally did almost no research before sending out invitations to trainers for his challenge. If you look in the harbor, at all of the trainers that received invitations, there's a trainer there with a Caterpie. Yeah, a Caterpie. And another one with a Weedle that you see. Seriously. And there are no Elite Four members there, or gym leaders, aside from Brock and Misty. And Brock and Misty don't even seem to have their full teams with them.
Do you think he was choosing trainers that displayed like a bond with their Pokemon? Because that camera was like focused on Ash being all like, yeah, you did it, good job.
It's possible, except he seemed genuinely surprised later in the movie when it seemed like Ash and Pikachu were actually friends. And he actually did say, when Pikachu said that he and Ash were actually friends, he said, no, that is impossible. So I don't really hold much stock in that theory. Plus, it really didn't seem like any of the other trainers there had the same kind of relationship with their Pokemon that Ash did with his, but
they gave them nicknames.
Which Ash surprisingly never does, but
I know, right?
I mean, I guess nicknames are kind of one sign of a relationship between trainer and Pokemon. But I believe that there is a famous Pokemon meme where someone forcibly nicknames a Bulbasaur Toby or something. But in any case, I suppose that's one possible theory. But that still doesn't explain why, if he's looking for powerful trainers, or if he's looking for Pokemon worth cloning, he goes and finds a trainer with a Caterpie or with a Weedle. Because it doesn't seem to me like Mewtwo is interested at all in the relationship between humans and Pokemon, other than his brief experience with Giovanni, which was how he viewed the whole dynamic in the first place.
I mean, he does say that he enhances the strength of the clones. So I don't think it really matters if they're weak, if he's going to make them stronger anyway.
So I guess getting into another technical issue about the movie that I didn't care about as a kid, but as an adult, I do. They're not technically clones if their genetics aren't exactly the same. They're genetically modified organisms. They are, Mewtwo is not a clone of Mew. He's, there's some genetic tinkering and genetic engineering going on there. And, that's perfectly fine. The whole underlying dynamic of people, or in this case, Pokemon who, are born into the world versus Pokemon or who are born in a laboratory, essentially. That, they're created synthetically. That still shines, whether they're actual clones or whether they're superior genetic or, genetically modified organisms.
Yeah. Don't get me started on that.
Well, right, of course.
I do that at work, so...
I was going to say, don't get the microbiologist started about that.
My PCR machine would like to have a word with this movie.
I actually did a report on the PCR for my invention convention in 6th grade. That was fun.
Carry Mulus and all that stuff.
Yes. Most of the other kids in my grade were doing inventions like the VCR, or I think one kid did Velcro. I did PCR. But none of this has anything to do with anything, so we'll save that for another time. Just another example of how I was always better than everyone else. No, not better, but always a step ahead in terms of sciences. And why by 8th grade my science teacher said I knew too much. But yeah, anyway, so even if we do want to consider the fact that Mewtwo might have been looking for trainers with strong bonds with their Pokemon, you would think that in order to get as strong as they are, gym leaders and Elite Four members would fall on that list anyway.
That's true.
So the fact that there were none there doesn't make sense if he was looking for strong Pokemon, and it doesn't make sense if he was looking just for people with strong bonds and relationships with their Pokemon. So yeah, that's that. And yeah, I already mentioned that the whole moral that they give, how Pokemon fighting each other is wrong in this one instance, but it's A-okay on other instances. And the last thing, and this of course only is in retrospect, because at the time, the series and definitely the movies had barely gotten started. But I was actually very upset when Ash was revived, because I think we really could use a better protagonist. Anyway, I'll run away before the anime fans come and get me, but not before I ask the next question, which is, this movie came with a short Pikachu-centric mini-episode, as well as a brief video about Mewtwo's birth. What are your thoughts on those? We'll start with Deanne on this one.
I'd watched Pikachu's Vacation previously, since it came with the VHS of the movie. It's actually my favorite part of the VHS. I tend to like the episodes that have less of the human characters and more of the Pokemon and their interactions. And I just thought it was really cute. As for the short on Mewtwo's birth, this was actually the first time I'd actually seen that one. It makes the scientist in charge more of like a human being and less of a douche. I almost feel bad for laughing when he gets blown up in the movie. Almost.
Almost.
Yes. It makes you wonder if Mewtwo would have been less anti-humanity as a whole and more just anti the scientists and Team Rocket that treated him like an experiment, if he still had memories of Amber instead of just being made to forget her.
Well, we'll get to that in a later question for sure. But yeah, so those are some interesting thoughts. Flutter, what about you?
Unfortunately, the DVD I had didn't have either of them, but I remember watching the Pikachu's Vacation a while back when it came out. I liked it, but I kind of wish they continued with that in the other movies.
All right, and have you ever seen the Mewtwo birth or the Mewtwo origin story?
I think I did, but I can't remember exactly what it was about.
All right, well, definitely fair there. Personally, I guess getting into my opinions, I think that really, I was actually talking with, I believe it was Saph or ABC the other day, and I actually didn't remember that the whole Mewtwo birth thing was not part of the movie. I had integrated the two in my mind so completely that I completely forgot that it was technically considered to be a short. And I view it as absolutely necessary as context for watching the first movie. First of all, like Deanne, like you said, Deanne, the scientist gets a little more background. You find out a little bit as to why he's doing genetic engineering. He lost his daughter and is trying to is trying to clone her, or at least get her back. So that's some character development for him for all the 2 seconds we actually see him in the movie. But it does show that he's doing something that's kind of sympathetic. He's just working for Team Rocket while doing it. So of course the purposes at the end of the day are nefarious. It also gives some character development for Mewtwo and shows a little bit more of Mewtwo's background, which is absolutely fascinating, and where Mewtwo comes from and why Mewtwo is, essentially. As far as the Pikachu mini episode, oh my goodness, I believe I watched it on Friday, and it was not as good as I remembered. Oh man. It's so hokey, and about half of it is these really stupid transition scenes.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like that part.
Yeah, the story itself is kind of interesting, and I do like the idea of a Pokemon-centric episode or a Pokemon-centric story without the trainers. And I will say, as a kid, seeing Meryl and Snubbull for the first time on the big screen was pretty cool. There were a lot of Gen 2 Pokemon that showed up in this movie, even though I think this movie came out well before and I could be misremembering things, it was so long ago, but I think this movie came out, well before the Johto anime was existent, so, you got to see Meryl, you got to see Snubbull, Togepi we'd already seen in the anime.
Donphan.
Yes, I was getting to Donphan. Donphan was in this one too. And it was interesting to see all these new Pokemon, and I do like when they introduce new Pokemon, in the movies or things like that. It is always cool. Then again, I also remember the time when we used to call Meryl, I think it was Blueachew or Pika-Blue. Yes, those were the days. So yeah, those are my opinions. And yeah, I mean, they're good. I feel like the whole Pikachu's Vacation thing would have been much better without those scene transitions. And it would have been considerably shorter too.
Yeah.
It was roughly the length of an episode. It was about 20 some odd minutes. And I feel like at least half of that was those transitions, because I don't feel like I got nearly 20 minutes worth of content from that. All right, so moving on to our next question. Both the movie and the shorts deal with an overarching question of whether or not Pokemon are capable of being evil without the influences of their trainers or human beings in general. Do you think that Mewtwo was evil, and do you think that Pokemon are capable of being evil? We'll start with the end on this one.
I don't remember what episode it was, but at one point, the main Pokemon of the good guys and Team Rocket's Pokemon were separated from their trainers, and they were all together, gathered around a fire.
Island of the Giant Pokemon.
Is it?
Yep.
Well, Meowth is explaining that Pokemon themselves are not bad or evil, but they do bad things because their trainers ask them to. So I guess it's the bond they have with their trainers that make Pokemon do bad things. In the case of Mewtwo, we didn't get to see him grow up under the treatment of the scientists. Instead, he just sort of wakes up and then blows the place up.
Yeah, he wakes up a wee bit cranky.
Yeah. But he does this because they don't treat him like a sentient living thing, just as an experiment. Due to how short the movie is, we only get to see this short version of the situation. But, I mean, if they had gotten to go on longer, we probably would have seen his mistreatment under the scientists. And I think one can extrapolate this to the abuse that, a child might receive in an abusive home. Many, although not all, children who are abused grow up to be abusive themselves. And I think Mewtwo isn't evil so much as just reacting to his treatment as a mere object by the scientists. Coming back to the first thing I said about this answer, that means that the clones weren't evil either, but were just following the orders of their trainer, who was Mewtwo. And now you get my psychology degree, so you're welcome.
Well, no, it's useful to have people from a lot of different backgrounds here. So, definitely bringing your own personal background, be it your education or your personal life experiences, into answering the questions is part of why this works. Flutters, what about you?
It's only based on whether it's only based on their or what they go through. They can be evil, but they're not. They may or may not be.
Okay. Now, you'll notice that the way I worded this question was, do you believe that Mewtwo is evil, and do you believe that Pokemon can be evil? I didn't say, are they only evil with human influence, or are they only evil, or are they innately evil? So, I in this case, I don't think the human influence matters to answer this particular question, although I definitely will be getting into it in my own answer. But I think that Mewtwo was most certainly evil. Like we already kind of casually mentioned at least 2-3 times in this recording, he blew up the lab that he was born in, and he killed quite a few people doing so.
Yeah, but they kind of sucked.
Yeah, but that doesn't justify murder. Mass murder at that. And again, I do believe that that's why he was evil, but, there is human influence that causes this. You're absolutely right. He started out being born after he experienced the tragedy of losing the other clone specimens, and even if he didn't have those exact memories, we do see at the very, very beginning of the movie, he retains some knowledge that happened. He says something to the effect of, was it all a dream, or was it all just a dream? Meaning that even if he doesn't remember detail for detail for detail, he knows that something happened. And he started his life with that, and his first impression of humanity is that they were really more interested in their own success than the fact that they had just created a new and sentient life form. So, of course, predictably, when his options were very, very limited, he was basically expected to just remain as a lab specimen. He lashed out and, he kills all the scientists when he blows up the lab. But of course, this was a reaction. This was him reacting to a very bad situation that he was in. And of course, right after that, literally in the smoldering wreckage of the lab, he meets Giovanni, who, promises to tell him what his purpose is, who promises to help him, who gives the impression that they're going to be partners. And for a while they work together. We see Mewtwo in Giovanni's gym, both in the movie and in the anime, where, he smacks around Gary's Pokemon. Which was very satisfying to see, by the way, because back in the day we all hated Gary.
Yep.
But, so we see that, and then, Giovanni basically then turns around and says, and I don't know why the heck Giovanni did this either. I think, we can kind of relate this back to Giovanni being just extremely egotistical. But he basically turned around and said to Mewtwo, no, you're inferior to me. We're definitely not partners. We can never be partners. And, you basically exist just to do what I tell you to do. I don't know why Giovanni thought that was a good idea, but it certainly backfired because Mewtwo blew up his gym.
Maybe he likes explosions.
I mean, that would certainly explain why he keeps Jesse, James, and Meowth around despite them blasting off so often. But yeah, so can keep in mind, though, that this is the one time that Mewtwo had anything even remotely resembling a trainer. And this is how it turned out. So, of course, this is what made his opinion. This is what formed his opinion about humanity. And really, it's what caused his opinion on both humanity and Pokemon that worked with humans. Pokemon that were caught by humans. He did view them as essentially as sellouts. He did view them as willing to work as slaves, because that's what Giovanni wanted from him. They weren't partners. They weren't equals. It was, Pokemon and Master. And of course, that certainly explains why his opinion on both was just so jaded. Now, as far as the second part of the question, whether Pokemon themselves are capable of being evil, Mewtwo was evil, and I think, going back to the episode of the Island of Giant Pokemon, if I'm remembering correctly, and I could be wrong because it's been a while since I've seen that one, but I think that, where Ekans and Coughing were very willing to work with Ash and Ash's Pokemon during the shipwreck, I believe that Meowth at first very much so resisted the idea. And I seem to recall there was a scene where, everybody else is gathered around a fire and Meowth is tied to a tree because he's not behaving himself. So, again, but one could definitely argue that that's because of Meowth's human influences. I think we can all agree that Meowth has been very, very, very heavily influenced by humans. So yeah, I mean, he learned literally the only reason, or one of the only reasons that were given why Meowth even joins Team Rocket in the first place was because Rocket was one of the first words he learned. At least from the episode Go West, Young Meowth. That's what we're supposed to get. So, his personal experiences, his life experiences, and his experiences with the humans that he's dealt with, namely Giovanni and then Jesse and James, they did at least partially condition his evilness. But he's also, at the end of the day, he's also not particularly evil either. It is actually kind of telling that it was Meowth that first realized in this movie that all the fighting was pointless.
Well, going back to, your life experiences, there's something in psychology called social referencing, which is we watch the people around us to learn how to behave. Mewtwo only ever saw negative stuff. He never learned empathy, so I don't know that you can really say that he was evil for killing people when he never learned the value of life.
Yeah, I mean, and especially when his life was just created and nobody seemed to have any value to that, you're right. Mewtwo probably didn't have any concept of life as we know it. But the question of whether or not he's good or evil, at least as far as things like this go, in my book, and again, this is my book, Mewtwo killed quite a few people. You could argue, if we were to take this to a court of law, you might be able to argue not guilty by reason of insanity or literally not knowing the difference between right and wrong. But this isn't a court of law. This is my opinion. And Mewtwo was evil. He killed all of the scientists. He blew up the lab. He absolutely did enslave Nurse Joy, and I'm not sure if he enslaved the Furo and the Dragonite that he used, or why, or whether those were clones that he made, but they didn't look like clones. And really, I don't think a Dragonite that's capable of being stopped by two humans and a Meowth when it's trying to fly away, I don't think that's one of his superpowered clones.
Frying pan to the skull.
Yeah, I don't think that's one of his superpowered clones. But Mewtwo definitely did some morally bad things in this movie. And that, in my book, makes him evil. Do I think that it's his fault? Do I think, that he didn't redeem himself towards the end of the movie? Absolutely not. He had a very good evolution of character, although, whether or not I believe that it would just take Ash being an idiot to make Mewtwo see that Mewtwo was being an idiot. And that's a whole different story. Which reminds me, I haven't talked about how stupid it was for Ash to when he comes out of the smoke cloud leading all of the original Pokemon, he runs at Mewtwo trying to punch him. What are you trying to do there, Ash?
Make a point. With my fist.
And the point was that it did absolutely nothing. I don't know why he thought it would work, but then again, he's Ash.
He saw a guy go flying earlier, and he's just like, yeah.
He saw a guy go flying earlier. He saw a Gyarados go flying earlier. He saw a Rhyhorn go flying earlier. The Rhyhorn at the very least is certainly much heavier than he is. The other guy was bigger than he was, so I assume he's heavier too. I think pretty much everything Mewtwo hurled around that Ash saw was heavier than Ash himself, so I don't know why he thought he would fare any differently. Maybe because he turned his baseball hat backwards.
Couple of sandwiches short of a picnic.
But anyway, so Mewtwo definitely had a lot of character development in this movie. Absolutely he did. And he makes a fantastic antagonist, though. And I guess that's another thing that I'm using as a sense of whether or not he was evil. He makes a very good antagonist. He thinks he's in the right, but that kind of puts him as lawful evil, but still evil. So, again, just my opinion. Yeah. So that's, I think that's that, unless either of you has anything else to say on this. I know it's a very weighty topic. Alright, I'll take that as a sign to move on to the next question. Which is, I did already touch on this in one of my previous answers, but, more so than any other movie, or at least any other movie that I ever saw or that I remember, this one has a lot of ties into the anime. To the point where, we see Mewtwo in Giovanni's gym during his battle with Gary. We see there are a couple of anime episodes where we actually see Mewtwo escaping from the gym, and that's why Ash battles Jesse James and Meowth instead. And of course in the movie we see a very, very brief glimpse of Gary's gym battle with Giovanni, along with a couple of other scenes that we saw briefly in the anime. Do you think that this is a trend that should have been continued? And, I know there are a couple of instances that the anime has referenced movies, once or twice, but definitely never in this kind of detail. Do you think that this should have continued? Do you think that they can do that now? And do you like that this happened at all? Flutters, we'll start with you on this.
It was kind of interesting at first, or when I first did it, but I can see why they wouldn't want to do it, because it kind of forces them to put the plot into it, and it could be troublesome for them.
All right, definitely fair. Deanne, what about you?
Well, I'm always a sucker for tie-ins. If I see characters from some media and another media, or characters from a previous installment of a video game or show in the sequel, I'm always like, yay! So, yeah, I would have enjoyed some more tie-ins from the movies. I mean, I guess we'll talk about this eventually when we get to this movie, but in the Lucario movie, Ash gains the ability to use aura, and then it literally never comes up again. Those sort of things bug me.
Yeah. Especially since, I don't remember, I think the Lucario movie, the big thing about the Lucario movie was it was somewhere between Gen 3 and 4. Because Lucario was one of the first Gen 4 Pokemon that showed up. And you actually had a few episodes of the anime, I think specifically the Riley ones in the Galactic Battle segment, where Ash being able to read aura would have been very useful. So, yeah, I agree with you 100% there.
Yeah, it's just kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, there have been, I think, a couple of other instances where, somebody gets an item from a movie that later shows up in an anime episode. I think that happened once or twice. But, yeah, it doesn't happen to the same level that it did with this movie and with the anime. And I really do think that should have been continued. Really, when that happens, when the movie ties into the anime and the anime ties into the movie, it makes the universe feel a lot more complete. And again, I like when things are complete. It's one of the reasons why, at least for a little while on the forum, I was making a lot of different crackpot theories trying to say, oh, hey, did Cyrus create the Mega Evolution universe? Is the Distortion World and Ultra Space the same thing? Stuff like that. Because, having things that tie together, it's I wouldn't say it's aesthetically pleasing to me, but it's very, I love it when that happens. It really does make things better, in my opinion. And yeah, I do acknowledge, Flutters, that would make everybody's lives a little bit more difficult to put that into the anime and to coordinate between the anime and the movies. But I think that the payoff would be very much so worth it.
It could, if they do it right.
Well, and again, I believe that they did do it right in this instance, where you had a few tie-ins from the episodes in the anime to the movie and vice versa. I mean, do you think that they did it right this time?
Yeah, it was good this time. Or in the first movie.
Yeah.
The battle with Gary was satisfying.
Oh, yes. Like I said, we all used to hate Gary back in the day.
What do you mean used to?
All right, I mean, some of us still do. Some of us still do. I think he's gotten so nerfed, at least from the last time I saw him in the Diamond Pearl season, but that's just my opinion. I mean, his Pokemon just got completely shut down by, I think it was Saturn's Toxicroak, and that's just, no. But yeah, so I guess that concludes our thoughts. Do either of you have anything else to say about the movie?
Nope.
No.
All right, let's move on to our final question then. Would you please pass the popcorn?
No, it's all mine.
A little bit.
As for me, I ate mine already, so it's all gone. All right, so that's about all the time that we have for today. We will definitely be continuing this series and going through each of the other Pokemon movies in order.
Yay.
And after that, who knows? We could end up expanding to other movies. But now, here's another surprise. It's been a little while since we've checked in with our European casters. Between the hackathon and other scheduling conflicts, it's kind of fizzled out for a bit. But now, it has returned. With a vengeance.
So, hi everyone, it's Saph here. I got lost in Europe and Dylan got lost somewhere. So, I guess I'm hosting tonight. Welcome to the European segment of our first Bulbacast movie night, in which we talk about the Pokemon movies in order, starting with the beginning, of course, Mewtwo Strikes Back. And to answer my questions, some quality people have joined me, because as you know, if you've watched the previous casts, my answers would be too short to make it in an episode. So please say hi to noworry.
Hi.
Cresselia 92.
Hey, nice to meet you all.
And DarthWolf.
Hey guys.
So you've all watched the movie, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, sure.
Of course I have. I'm Mewtwo. I have to.
Okay, then, first question, that should be short. What language or languages did you watch the movie in? Cresselia, 92, first? I'll call you Cress because that will be too long.
Alright, no problem. Well, I have watched it strictly in Italian. However, I have seen bits of it in Japanese as well, even if I didn't understand anything. I had to watch it with the sub to get an understanding of what they were saying, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I would have understood the Japanese version with the sub. Noworry, what languages?
When I was a kid, I watched it in Norwegian, but I recently watched it in English because I hadn't done that before.
Okay, any difference between the two?
Yeah, I think the English dub is a lot better because we don't have a lot of people to dub them in Norway.
I know that issue.
Yeah.
What about you, DarthWolf?
Well, basically same as noworry. When I was young, it was still my native language, being Dutch. When I grew up, I watched it in English, and eventually also in Japanese. And now I'm basically switching between the two. And comparing the first to each other, Dutch is basically just literal translation of the English version, and not as good in my opinion, for the same reason as Nono.
Yeah.
And with the Japanese one, it's quite different. There are a lot of dub edits in the movie, which you can all find in Bulbapedia, which is a whole list I'm just going to mention.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And basically, it adds some character change to, for example, Mewtwo. Instead of being all angry and wants to destroy everything, it's more about being confused in life.
Pretty much, yeah. It's basically a whole different message that the Japanese movie was trying to send to the audience.
Oh, definitely.
While the American dub basically changed it to make more Americanized, we could say. And
I get what you mean, yeah. What's interesting between the versions, two things. First of all, there are quite a lot of music changes in the movies. But the American version has both a 90s pop song and just changed the view of the soundtrack, either replaced it with some Japanese ones or with nothing, to make it more Americanized, more Western songs, basically.
Yeah.
And the other part is that the American version, which a lot of kids dubs do in general, is that they add more comedy to it, basically.
Yes.
That they take themselves less seriously.
Indeed. And a lot of international dubs had the same thing. Basically, they copied the American and, well, the message was lost in between. Kinda sad.
Yeah, I think most countries copy from the English version rather than Japanese because it's easier.
It doesn't work when you copy it directly because the dialogue makes less sense in other languages.
What do you mean?
Like they dubbed it in Norwegian, the dialogue is basically just taken from the English one and changed. So to Norwegian kids, it doesn't make as much sense and the jokes kind of get lost.
Oh, true. I remember one joke being about when Ash and Gang are carried by Team Rocket in that Viking boat. In the American version, they make a joke about them only living in Minnesota, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have that great of an American knowledge, probably refers to some sports team, like the Minnesota Vikings or whatever.
Yeah, it does.
And as a kid, I was like, how does it make any sense? I have never been thought that Vikings lived in America.
Yeah, in the Norwegian dub, they changed it to a band, a Swedish band. I don't remember directly how it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the Dutch version, it was just the same Viking joke, which I didn't get.
Yeah, that it doesn't make sense in.
Uh-huh.
I think it was kind of funny in Norwegian and Swedish, though, but it didn't make sense to me as a kid, so it's kind of a hidden joke.
Yeah, but you're from the region which you would expect, like, if you talk about Vikings, talk about Scandinavian countries, basically.
Yeah, they also, like in the Norwegian dub, they kind of changed the dialect to more match old-fashioned speaking, so I thought that was kind of cool.
Well, that's cool, yeah. Something you can only do with those languages, yeah.
Yeah.
So as for me, I watched it in French the first time, and for your information, the Viking part, Ash says, I don't remember if that's Ash who says it, but they say we really only see them at fun fairs nowadays.
No, Ash says that, yeah.
Which we don't. I never saw Vikings at any fun fair in France,
know,
so
right?
that doesn't make any sense. And more recently, I watched it in English a couple of times. The last time being yesterday.
Oh, wow. Last minute preparation, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, I watched it earlier today just as an excuse to watch it again. I've watched it way too many times.
I mean, you already watched it 51 times already.
151 times.
You watched it one time per week.
I should count how many times I've done it. It's too much, though.
So, Darth, you'll be the first to answer the second question, which is, did you like or dislike this movie?
My favorite Pokemon being Mewtwo, for the sole reason of this movie, which is also now my avatar. My answer would be no, I didn't like it. I loved it.
Oh, well, I admit I liked the movie as well. I just wish it was, the dub was handled a bit better, but other than that, it was a really nice movie with a lot of action, a lot of fight, and, it was also interesting seeing Mewtwo change from A to B, grow up as a character and becoming one of the most popular anime characters as well. Certainly the movie helped his popularity, I bet.
Oh, definitely.
Noah, what about you?
Yeah, I really like it. It's not my favorite Pokemon movie, but
What?
the second one is my favorite. But I like the first movie too because I grew up with it and I remember a lot of it from when I was a kid.
Yeah, it brings a lot of nostalgia, huh? Nostalgia.
We'll have more precisions with the third question. What were some of your favorite parts of the movie, Noah?
The opening, I think, because I remember that well. Like with the song and stuff. And when he battles the trainer. And the Dragonite. I used to love Dragonite because there was a Dragonite in the movie.
That logic is amazing.
Yeah.
I love Dragonair because it's in the movie.
There's no Dragonair.
Yeah,
There's no Dragonair, so that argument is invalid.
yeah, when I played Pokemon games, I'd go catch a Dragonite just because I saw it in the movie.
Oh yeah, I still remember having a Dragonite card that was distributed to in the Moon cinema basically. And yeah, it was really a cool Pokemon. I love him as well.
I remember having a card in the VHS version of the movie back in the day, which I still have. Quite damaged, but I still have it.
I don't think I still have it.
Mine should be around, don't know where though. Oh.
Yeah, what I liked about the movie a lot is definitely the clone starter battle, the 3-on-3 one, which Mewtwo just shows his power basically. And what I liked as well is how basically at the end, when Ash gets petrified and all the Pokemon starts crying, every time I watch it, you just feel something. The fact that it can bring it up every time is pretty good for a movie, especially considering it's supposed to be a kids' movie.
Any other favorite parts?
Let me think. I'm not sure which could be my favorite part. Maybe the part where Mew was playing with the giant windmill. I don't know. It was.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh yeah, that's cute.
It was really cute.
Every part with you.
Adorable.
Yeah, really.
What
Yeah.
about the part where Mew gets hit by a Shadow Ball? That's cute.
Yeah, that too.
In its own way.
In its own way. From Mewtwo's perspective.
Mewtwo is not as cute as Mew, though.
No, but I'm cute, right?
Well, of course. But they balance each other, huh? The cool Mewtwo versus the cute Mew.
Uh-huh.
I think they do.
So, I forgot to answer the previous question for myself, so...
No problem.
I like the movie overall. That's not my favorite movie, because I already said my favorite movie was the second. What I don't like, I'll say it afterwards, so I'm not gonna say it right now. As for my favorite part of the movie, it's the scene in which Mewtwo captures all the Pokemon.
Oh.
I found that really cool that he could capture Pokemon that already had a trainer and even capture Pokeballs.
That's so weird, yeah. Yeah, I just love that part.
Wow, that was...
And of course that epic scene when Ash emerges from the cloud of smoke, followed by all the original Pokemon behind him. That must be what inspired Michael Bay for his movies afterwards.
That was a really cool part. We will stop you, Mewtwo. Appear from the cloud.
Just like the courage and badassness in his face. This says it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, though Ash trying to punch Mewtwo was really weird, though.
It's called stupid bravery.
Yeah, well, that's something I'll get to later. So about that, what were some of your least favorite parts of the movie now? Cress?
Oh, the least favorite. Got to say that I didn't like much when the clones and the original were fighting for a reason. That song, the Oh Brother song was, it ruined the moment for me, really. It was terrible.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That was what I meant.
If it wasn't for that song, it would have been cooler, but with that, it's like, wow. Don't you see they're fighting to their death, and you put this music about brotherhood all together. Well, nah, it doesn't click now.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to earlier with the 90s pop song. And if I remember correctly, in the Japanese version, they just had some soundtrack from the movie, which was way more fitting, where it made it more sad, so to speak, instead of just like happy, I guess.
Yeah.
I kind of think the song fits the scene, but it kind of makes it more bizarre, I think. Like that they're fighting each other for no reason.
Well, context of song makes sense. It just, the randomness of just adding a pop song to it just doesn't fit.
Yeah, that's more the style of the song that doesn't fit with the scene.
Indeed, it was more the tone. It wasn't the lyric per se, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just the music. It was awkward.
Yeah, but it kind of makes it bizarre because they are fighting, but then there's this happy kind of song in the background. I think it kind of just, I don't know, it just made sense to me.
I feel...
Okay, so Noah likes bizarre things.
What don't you like?
Who didn't answer? I think I asked only Cress.
Yeah, you did.
So, Darth, I think you're dying to tell us what your least favorite part is.
That's quite a hard one. I just love the movie overall. It's mostly just some minor things. As for the fact with the opening battle Chris was talking about earlier, is how can Squirtle with Bubble instantly KO a Machamp? And how can Pikachu faint a Golem who is immune to electric types?
Yeah, that was weird.
Things like that just are like, that doesn't make any sense.
That golem, I don't know, lightning root, that's why.
But yeah, besides like really small points, if I would have to mention one part, would be the dub version with that same song mentioned.
And I mean, Pikachu does KO ground type Pokemon in the anime too.
Okay, let's not go there now.
Yeah. Aim for the horn.
Golem has no horn, it's just a ball.
Aim for the ball.
Sure, that works.
Sure. Noah, what about your least favorite parts?
I didn't really like that they erased the memories from the trainers. Like Mewtwo did that, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of just...
At the end.
Yeah, it kind of just... I don't like it when they do that in movies, that they just kind of forget everything, or it's kind of like when it was all a dream, it just didn't happen at all.
I think they did that because they wanted originally to make it non-canon, to keep the movies separately.
Yeah, but I didn't like that.
And I think they do like get their memory, quote unquote, back in the Mewtwo Return special, which suddenly like, oh wait, I remember now. So at that point they're like, we should bring this back.
Well, I for one totally agree with Noah. My least favorite part is when Mewtwo just leaves with no other explanation than, oh, a human sacrificed himself, so I guess I shouldn't kill everyone.
That doesn't fully make sense, though.
And then magically makes everyone go back in time like nothing happened.
They don't go back in time.
So...
They just get transported back.
Yeah, but it was kind of weird. I used to think Mewtwo was really arrogant when I was a kid. Because he kind of just wipes their memories and leaves.
Well, he's kind of evil now.
I think it kind of goes back in time, though, because there are, like, as many people at the ferry thing than before.
Yeah, but...
So, like, all those who tried to go and died on the way are still there. That's a little weird.
There was only one who died, but only one person with a pharaoh who never appeared somehow. But that is indeed something to confirm that was, like, going back in time, which kind of confuses me, because you also see Team Rocket still being on the island, which means Mewtwo didn't transport them back because they didn't know they were there. So how did they get there in the first place?
Vikings.
Magic.
It's weird.
Faking magic.
Faking magic. What's your secret, Nuno?
That's a secret.
Damn humans.
So, you already said you saw the movie before, so I guess I don't have to ask you again. Did you have it on VHS? DVD? Just watched it?
Well, I have the DVD of the movie, yep. I also have the VHS somewhere, if my dad didn't sell it, of course. But I had the DVD.
Darth, I guess you have three VHS and 2 DVDs of it?
No, I don't. Although I should get is there a Blu-ray version of it? I don't know. I should get the latest version, let's say that. I do or did have the VHS, as I mentioned. I don't know where it is right now. It should be at home here somewhere, though, together with the third movie. But I lost it. I don't know where it is, though.
I should have the first 3 movies in DVD, and the others, I don't remember.
Wait.
I recall having the first 3.
I do have the first movie on DVD.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just forgot about it, because, like, VHS is, like, older and cooler.
Ah, I see.
Not many people can say that they have that current days.
Noah, what about you?
We have it on VHS, but that's just in Norwegian. So we have a copy on DVD, but it's kind of broken.
Aww.
But yeah, I watched that and
Missing a part.
it worked out.
Really sad. Really sad.
And I have it on VHS as well. Though I lost the card. But I still have the card for that went with the Ancient Mew.
I want that card. I don't have that.
Oh, I wish I had that card. It was cool.
I love it. I don't have it, though.
I had the unknown card for the third movie, but I don't have any other card.
The third movie had an unknown card, yeah. I still have it as well.
Yep, a random unknown card, I think.
I think it was Unknown J. I don't know why I remember that.
Ah, I think it was unknown Jane too.
I think we're right then.
In my case.
I don't know.
Saph's like, I'll stay out of this.
Let's say question mark unknown because I don't know.
Let's stick with the first movie.
Yeah. So, since you've seen it before, how was your opinion of the movie held up since the last time you seen it? Cress?
Well, as a kid, I really loved it. I was like obsessed with the movie. But as I grew up, basically, I ended up finding the flaws in the movie and the good point and judging it more and, well, I may not like it as much as when I was a kid, but I still like it a lot. We could say that as a kid it was a 10. Now it will be more like a 9, we could say, yeah.
Okay, Darth, even though the last time you seen it before was last week?
Today. Oh, but the one before that. No, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
Don't worry. But yeah, basically, it started similar as Crash. As a kid, it was this, like, awesome Pokemon movie. Just obsessed with it. Which started my fandom for Mewtwo. Nowadays, it's still a fandom for Mewtwo. But let's stick with that. But I do, when you get older, I do see more flaws and, like, cinematic points in it, which have more critical view on it. It's still a great movie. Not, like, from a 10 to a 9, I would say as well. But besides that, I think that through the years, it's really stood out as a Pokemon movie, because, well, when it came out, it was the best Pokemon movie. There was only one. So I expected a lot of greatness from the other ones. But it's still the best one in my opinion, so yeah. Over the years, it's a good movie.
Noah?
I liked it a lot better as a kid because I didn't see the flaws in the dubbing and the different plot points, and I just basically saw creatures and music and stuff. So I really liked just watching things, even though I didn't quite get the point of everything.
No, being innocent.
But I still liked the movie.
Well, as for me, my opinion on the movie has not really changed since the last time I seen it. It has a few moralities that are brought well, like that Meowth quote, we do have a lot in common. The same air, the same earth, the same sky. Maybe if we started looking at what's the same instead of always looking at what's different, well, who knows?
Oh, that was cute.
Ah, yeah, that
Did you write it down?
was a really great quote.
Yeah, I wrote that down.
That's cheating.
I don't know it by heart.
I was about to say, that's too long for you to remember that suddenly.
Oh. And,
ironically, I think that was a dub edit. Because in the original it was more about the moon. They were talking about the moon or something like this.
Oh yeah, indeed.
that explains why they were showing the moon at this moment.
Yeah. Okay, but you gotta agree, that quote plus the quote from Mewtwo at the end where you can see like like the human origin. Those two quotes are so like.
I still think it's kind of cute.
I see now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are.
Did you write that down too?
That one. He also wrote that one down.
I wrote that down too.
I didn't remember it myself, so if he did, that would be impressive. But yeah, those two quotes are just so inspirational and deep. You'd expect it from such a movie. It's like, oh wow.
I thought you knew the whole transcripts for the movie.
No, I know some quotes from the movie though. To be. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh.
Mewtwo.
There was Bulba and Pikachu.
Okay. Let me impress you with this. To be fair, with the dub music in the Clone Starter Battle, just hearing the soundtrack, I can exactly quote at which point it says what. That is scary, according to Dylan and Chef.
Really scary.
I'm disappointed. I don't have the soundtrack on hand.
Me neither. Oh.
Well, I do.
Yeah, but aside from that, I find the movie rather empty. There's no evolution on either side. Like at the beginning, Mewtwo wants to destroy everything, and the characters just try to attack it without thinking, like trying to punching him. Yet. And during the final fight, well, Mewtwo wants to destroy everything, and Ash still tries to punch it.
Still tries to punch it.
Yeah.
This time, however, I saw the short featuring the creation of Mewtwo, and it really helps understanding the movie better.
Indeed.
But that'll be for the next question.
That bridge, though.
Which is, of course, this movie came with a short Pikachu-centric minisode, as well as a brief video about Mewtwo's birth, well, creation. What are your thoughts on those, Darth?
Let's first do the Pikachu shorts. It's a fun one to watch. It's not really fitting for the movie, but it's supposed to be an extra, so fair enough. What I do like a lot about it is how, without any text besides the Pokédex giving some narration on information parts, it's a story without any real talk, but you still get what's going on, and you can still like feel along with the characters and what's happening.
Meow talk.
Well, meow is meow.
Okay, Meowth just is complaining about wanting to sleep. but between Pikachu and the gang...
That is me.
Well, it's a cat. Of course it wants to sleep.
Damn cats. But between Pikachu and Raichu's gang, just the whole thing that's happening there. There's a story in there without even saying any word, which is pretty cool for Pokemon. Which you should actually do more often, in my opinion. And for the Mewtwo origin, as Saph already said, it does add a lot to how it started out, and gives a lot of extra context. And I think that's it's also like a nice extra to see how Mewtwo used to be like a small kid and friendly, and how he then turned into an angry person. Give him showing the motivation he has for being the way he is.
Well, of course, if somebody messed it up with your mind, wouldn't you be angry as well?
Well, of course. So yeah, in short, the Pikachu short is just a fun extra, and Mewtwo's origin is a must-see if you want to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Noah?
The Pikachu short is actually what I remember best from watching the movie. I really liked that part as a kid because it was short and cute, and the way they just come together to help out and stuff.
What about the other one? You saw it?
No, I didn't watch that.
Go watch it. No.
Okay, Chris, what about you?
You must. Well, the Pikachu short was really cute. I loved it. I especially loved seeing what Pokemon would do without their trainers around. How they would handle disputes, how they would compete with each other, how they would make friends. It was really nice. Also, the swimming competition was one of my favorite parts about the short. I liked saying how other water types interfered with the race and everything. Don't know why.
That's so unfair, though.
They had these small sequences between scenes, and I found that kind of creepy.
Yeah, as a kid, I loved those things, but now it's like, why is this here? Is this a 90s thing or something?
Ah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
like there was some Pokemon just walking across, repeating their name, and I found it really creepy.
ah, yeah. I still remember the Chansey part. Chansey!
Yeah.
Chansey! It was... I was there and was... Wait, what happened? What was that?
Yeah, I don't know if they were under the influence of something when they did those clips, or if that's just the way they do it in Japan. I don't know. I don't want to judge anyone, but those are really weird.
It was indeed weird.
Well, it's also a Japanese version, so there was intention for it.
It broke the rate, though. But they were... strange. Now, about the Mewtwo short... well, that was really dramatic for a part, because we saw Mewtwo bonding with this girl, and then this girl talking about the good thing about life, and being glad to teach him everything, and then she basically vanished, we could say, and Mewtwo was left heartbroken and forced to have his mind erased, and yeah, it was sad. It's really useful as an insight about Mewtwo's character, but it was really sad. I'm not much a fan of sad things, but it was nicely done, yeah.
I do like how that origin part, which the sad part of it, also refers to the tears later on in the actual movie.
Ah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is the whole mention about tears being life, and the short talks about that, and explains as well why the tears of Pokemon revived Ash, we could say.
The same thing was also said when they were like stopped from taking the boat by that boat person, I guess, however you want to call it. We also talked about that legend about the tears of Pokemon, which comes back later again.
Yeah. I don't know how tears can revive stuff, but okay, let's accept it. It's magic.
It's Pokemon.
It's Pokemon. It's Pokemon magic.
So as for me, I think you already said everything. I discovered the Mewtwo short yesterday, and it really helps understanding the movie further, especially the voice we hear at the beginning of the movie, which is actually an echo of Amber's voice. And the resurrection part, with their sentence, the tears of sad Pokemon are filled with life, or something like that.
Which part?
As for the Pikachu's vacation...
Which part did you refer to with Amber's voice being an echo?
At the beginning, I think Mewtwo is still in the water thing, and you hear Mewtwo's words. Sorry, not Amber's, but his word echo. Like, who am I?
Yeah, okay.
Where am I? Something like that.
I was like, I don't remember Amber's voice being there. What are you saying now?
Yeah, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, I was confused as well.
As for the Pikachu's vacation short, well, I think we've said everything. The weird clips. The swimming competition scene is my favorite too, because obviously I'm a dolphin.
Of course.
Makes sense.
And yeah, that's great to see they were able to make a story of like, it must be like 20 minutes.
Roughly. Without
any actual relevant text. So yeah, that was great, but I think this short is more appealing to younger audiences than the movie. Speaking of both the movie and the shorts, they deal with an overarching issue of whether or not Pokemon are capable of being evil without the influences of their trainers or other human beings. Do you think Mewtwo was evil? And do you think Pokemon in general are capable of being evil on their own? Noah?
I mean, there is Meowth, but I guess he isn't evil, just kind of not good, I guess. But I don't think Mewtwo is evil, I just think he's misguided and confused and angry.
Cress?
Well, yeah, I've got to agree. Mewtwo himself isn't exactly evil. He was just made evil with the thingies because of circumstance, because of how he was born, how he was treated, how he saw the world. And then once he realized that there is more about what he knows, then he basically became almost good, we could say.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was born evil. As I say, it's just that he was made evil by all the stuff that happened to him. That's all.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same with humans, because nobody's really born evil, just born into the desire to do evil stuff. I think it's more people around them and stuff happening that shapes them that way. So I think Pokemon can be evil with influences from humans.
Yeah,
I agree.
Or other Pokemon.
From human or from other things,
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be humans per se.
Yeah, I think good and evil are conditioned by what you learn and experience, just like humans, as you said. Mewtwo learned it was a copy of an existing Pokemon. He experienced slavery.
Slavery?
So I guess that's enough of an excuse to act evil.
Indeed.
If you call it slavery, you should call every Pokemon being enslaved. That's what Mewtwo actually did in the movie.
Yeah, but he didn't have that.
That's how we saw it.
He didn't have that friendly connection to his trainer.
Fair enough, but according to Mewtwo, that friendly connection is something that makes him weak.
Yeah.
So Darth, I think you have a lot to say about that.
Okay. To make the fair point, you guys are quite right. It's like you're not born evil, just your surroundings and people around you and the way you act make you evil. I mean, we can probably all agree that what Mewtwo actually did in the movie was evil. But as you saw in the origin, he was just innocent, I guess. You could say that. Besides that, it's just... basically with everything being evil, well, most things, it's often a matter of a point of view. From their point of view, they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
From Mewtwo's point of view, he's doing the right thing of getting rid of all evil people, basically, evil humans, what they did to him. And the Pokemons working together with the humans are apparently traitors to him, so they should also perish. Or, well, be stored for DNA purposes, but same thing.
Yeah.
So
that's indeed true.
The question was also about Pokemon in general being capable of being evil.
Yeah, I think they are as capable as humans, because I don't think animals in real life can be directly evil. But Pokemon are more than animals, because they don't just rely on instincts and what they're born with. They rely more on things that happen around them. And they are shown to be capable of more intelligent thinking like we are. So yeah.
Yeah, like in episode 17 of the anime, Island of the Giant Pokemon.
I was about to mention that one.
You have
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see them speak, and Meowth learned speaking, and they understand what the trainers are saying, so I think that they are intelligent enough to be evil on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Despite being affected.
Yeah, but you have Jesse's Ekans and James's Coughing who tell Meowth that they're not bad guys and only take bad orders from their masters. So that could show that evil really comes from the trainer, not from the Pokemon itself.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's kind of like that's their own point of view, because that's why they are doing bad things.
Yeah.
Well, Meowth doesn't understand that, because he doesn't really have a trainer.
He's not owned by them now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Saph, about your episode you mentioned, they're not inherently evil, but they do support Jesse and James whatever they do. If they're in danger, they're there to help them, willingly. So
yeah, but
besides, can we really consider Jesse and James truly evil?
No.
They do bad stuff. But they aren't...
They're an example for this now.
They aren't exactly bad guys.
Sometimes.
They have shown to have a heart, at least, and some kind of... They have a like, I don't think they will kill anyone. I think they have sort of a line.
Indeed.
They're not going as far as Giovanni now.
To where they have to stop before it goes past their own morals.
I think they just want money and Pikachu.
They just want Pikachu. That's all.
Money.
No, they wouldn't go that far, so I don't think they're evil. I just think they do bad stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think at the very end, I do think they would save a human's life if they had the chance and stuff. I don't think they're evil people.
Yeah, I agree. Darth, you wanted to add something?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay, no one else?
No, not quite, no.
So, more so than any other movie, or at least any other movie that I can remember or have watched, this one ties into the anime to the point where Mewtwo was seen in Giovanni's gym during the battle with Gary. Do you think this should have been continued in further movies?
Yeah.
Well, it kinda continued actually. Basically, in Yoto, Ash mentioned meeting a Lugia in the Orange Island, while in Diamond and Pearl, There Is Dawn was the lunar wing, which she got in the Dark Knight movie. They are very little references, which...
But at the same time, they just don't always do that. Like, I remember there was one episode where he mentioned that he was impressed by seeing a legendary that he has met before in a movie, so it doesn't always tie into the anime.
Yeah, that's true.
Or between movies. Because I remember with the Wooper movie, he sees the Lati duo and he's like, whoa, those are cool.
Yeah.
Yet he has interacted with them in the 5th movie.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense. Or you just blame Ash, because he just doesn't remember type of functions either.
And he is like confused by Pokemon that he has seen before, and
Yeah.
that's just a thing that happens in the anime in general, I think. Yeah, I think they kind of tie in, but Ash just forgets, like he always does.
Yeah, it's a bit inconsistent, I agree. At times there are some references. At other times, like, they have never seen something before. They are surprised, oh, what's that? When they would know already what that is. So, yeah.
I do think that's the first movie is the only one which shows intertwined connection between the episodes, unlike the Lugia and Darkrai one.
Yeah.
Which, for example, when you see Mewtwo blast away from the island.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only...
You see that...
That's the only one where there is actually... when the anime and the movie are actually connected. Which is why there is a lot of controversy about the movie being canon or not. People being confused about, did this movie happen or is it just an extra thing?
I would say it's canon just for that reason alone.
I like thinking that they did happen.
If there is one movie that is unclear about it being canon or not, is the dual movie with Victini and Reshiram and Zekrom, because there are two versions. So you will say, which is the right one?
Yeah, I think it's kind of annoying that they had two versions of that movie, because it kind of it's confusing, and they just animated two versions to get more money, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was kind of unnecessary to do it like two versions like the games.
Yeah, and it's not like you don't watch both versions to get two different stories. It's basically the same story, but a few changes.
What's also interesting about this part we're mentioning anyway, is the movie has a tie-in with the episodes, the TV show, but the episodes actually only released after the movie premiere.
Ah, yeah.
Which was all because of the banned Porygon episodes and the seasons it cost. It took a few months of hiatus for episodes, which caused a delay in it while the movie stayed on the same release line. So the movie released before the episodes, not showing the link to them yet. And therefore the movie also got an extended prologue with Giovanni training Mewtwo to get more info on that.
So that part is not in the Japanese version?
No.
Well, it is in Japanese version, I think. Yeah, it is, but it's just... Like, I meant the movie release in Japan came before the episode releases in Japan, like the original releases.
Yeah, and...
Because of the Porygon episode, they stopped airing it for a few months. But the movie still came on its own schedule.
Yeah, the Porygon episode caused some
Caesar, yeah.
She's I can't say that word. Yeah, so I don't think Porygon has been in the anime ever since either. They kind of just banned using it and the evolutions.
No,
I think he appeared once in the movie opening.
there is only a cameo.
Yeah, like opening.
Yeah.
But they don't include him now. The whole line.
Yeah, they don't really include it. Like,
It wasn't even Porygon's fault. It was Pikachu's fault. Why Why don't they ban Pikachu instead?
I know, right? But you can't ban Pikachu.
Ash should have ditched Pikachu and brought Porygon with him, because it wasn't his fault.
Just blame Ash.
yeah, it was a really long time ago, too, so
To be fair, they should just bring Porygon back, in my opinion. It's like,
it seems silly.
in my opinion, it's just stupid to exclude him and his whole evolutionary line just for that reason.
I think it would make sense to ban it, like, in the start, just to get...
That as well. I mean, I get why they banned the episode, but don't ban the Pokemon, come on.
to get some focus off of it, but it has been like 20 years. Yeah, I don't think anyone remembers.
Yeah, it's been so long.
Well, early on, sure, but so now, like, 20 years later?
Even if no one remembers, the fans know that Porygon has been banned because of that, so bringing it back could start a controversy somehow, and I don't think they want that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I kind of see why they did a similar thing, I think, with the earthquake,
Oh, yeah.
because there was really bad timing on once with the episode and an earthquake in Japan, I think. So they kind of...
Yeah, it was the Whiscash episode.
Yeah, so after that they kind of just banned
Yeah.
earthquake as a move.
Yeah, they banned earthquakes in general, which is also a reason why they...
Not just Earthquake, also Magnitude and Fissure, the similar moves.
Magnitude,
It's also a reason why the Team Plasma episode were banned, because they showed the destruction of buildings and there was an earthquake. It's all connected.
Anything else to add about the connection between the movies and the anime?
No, I think we have said everything.
But I think we don't enough for that yet.
yeah.
Then would you please pass the popcorn?
No, it's all mine.
No, it's mine.
Too late. It's gone already.
Okay, that's good. I don't share my popcorn either. And sweet popcorn only anyway.
Another debate for another day.
Alright.
Well, thank you everyone. I think that wraps it up. Unless anyone has something to add about the movie.
Watch it. You must watch it. Watch the birth of Mewtwo 2. Get it?
If you haven't watched it, go watch my movie.
Mewtwo 2.
Mewtwo 2.
Darth Strikes Back.
Darth Strikes Back.
But there is one thing. Don't watch movie 14. That's not a good Mewtwo movie.
Please. Watch the second movie instead.
That one can trigger me sometimes, but that's something else. That's for later episodes.
Yeah, for later.
Okay, thank you to the three of you for joining, and thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And see you next time. Bye.
Bye!
Bye!
Alright, so that about does it for this episode. Thanks to everybody who participated in both recordings, and to Saph for temporarily taking over the duties as Eurocast host. Of course, I say temporary. I, of course, started out as a temporary host, so we'll see. Hopefully things will work out with that. I do hope that all of you enjoyed listening to this episode, and please comment below about what you think about Mewtwo Strikes Back. And with that, I will see you all next time.
The power that's inside.